Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over LTCN BCHG and the rest of the Grayscale Trust. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to mention first. Number one, we will be going over the options chain and the options market here in a future video. Reason being is because the options market is a massive market. Sometimes it trades billions or even trillions of dollars of capital flow. Options is absolutely massive. So I think it's important for us to go over the kind of where the bulk of the traders and investors are expecting the biggest moves in the options market based on implied volatility and open interest and stuff like that. So we'll go over that in a later video to kind of further cement in a better understanding of when the crypto bull run is likely going to start popping off. And the other thing I wanted to mention to y'all is that there's a few major upcoming events. Okay. So GameStop has earnings today. It has earnings today after hours. So if you're in GameStop, keep a lookout for that. There's also the first, I don't know if it's going to be the only debate, but it's the first debate tonight, the first presidential debate between Trump and Kamala Harris. That happens, I believe, at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So, adjust your time zone accordingly. But for me, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be 7 p.m. tonight, if I'm not mistaken. So I will be watching that, just so y'all know. And look, I haven't seen the debate yet, but I'm going to tell y'all right now, what I suspect is going to happen is that Trump is going to mop the floor with Kamala. She does not have a chance in hell. I'm going to be honest about it. I think that her polls are going to plummet off a cliff after this debate. And I think Trump is, my prediction more or less is that he's essentially going to guarantee his reelection as president after the closing of the debate between the two of them tonight. So that's happening tonight. And then we have CPI first thing in the morning at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, adjust your time zone accordingly. But that the reason why the CPI in the morning is so important is because that is going to be the last, as far as I know, the last subset of data that the Fed is going to look at before making their rate decision as to how much they're going to cut on the 18th of this month. And again, the Fed has indicated they're going to cut. The market's just kind of wondering how much at this point, but the markets currently have, I think it's like a 70% chance priced in of a 25 BP cut. And in my mind, I think regardless of what CPI comes in at, the Fed's still likely going to cut by 25 basis points because, again, they have to test the waters. They got to kind of like do the cut and then kind of see how things react, right? So that way they have a better understanding of what they're gonna do going forward. And then I think maybe in November, December, we see 50s. Okay, I think that's what's going to happen. And plus, if the Fed only cuts by 25 BP from the onset, it's not going to freak the markets out. Okay, they don't want like any surprise cuts like a 50 or 75 that would cause the markets to freak out. They might start panic selling. The Fed doesn't want that because that's what they do. They run the monetary system. So, money is all they know, right? So let's go over LTCN and the rest of the trust now that I've mentioned that. Again, these are all important things to talk about. So LTCN got below this lower macro trend line here. Unfortunately, it had to close below and it is retesting and currently rejecting. This can always change. Again, we have major news catalysts this week. So this thing could come back above this trend line and close. If not, I'd be looking for a buy somewhere around roughly about 9.25 at that wick bottom there. If that doesn't hold, then $6.70 to $8, that support down there is going to be your next potential buy level here. I'm not going to go over the major different zones here in this video. We'll do that in the next one. So roughly about $54 at the swing high here. So assuming, let's just say it stops at that wick low, it'd be roughly about a 510% gain. If it goes down to this support here, then it would be nearly 720% gain. Okay, so BCHG, kind of same thing. So it got down below this macro trend line, kind of hit its head on it, got rejected. That does happen a lot in trading. Don't be surprised by this. I've literally seen the same thing happen probably dozens upon dozens of times at this point. It really doesn't shock me anymore. So But again, we have CPI this week. If CPI comes in really good, if the elections look really good and the markets favor Trump, I can tell you that right now. And if they're convinced that Trump's going to win even more so after this debate, we might see a V-shaped recovery and just bang straight up. Okay, it could happen. So that would put us back above that trend line. But as of right now, 530 to 590 is where it's currently sitting. That would be the current buy zone, then 360 to roughly about 410 below that, and the swing high up here at 24. So we'll assume one of two scenarios. It stays at the current level and does not break down anymore, then that would be roughly about a 350% gain. But in the bearish case scenario, if it does end up pulling back more, then it would be a 510% gain. At this point, it's hard to say what's going to happen, but in my opinion, I'm much more bullish going towards the end of the year than I am bearish. Like I said, once again, I think the chances of a dump going into the end of the year is like 5 to 10%. It's extremely, extremely low, in my opinion. Okay. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee we get a bull run into the end of the year, but in my mind, it's as close to a guarantee as you can get. Okay. For both stocks and crypto. Again, the timing and all of the data and everything that's going on right now just does not point to any kind of major sell-off to me. It just simply does not happen. The economy, in my opinion, is not going to fall off a cliff. The markets are not going to fall off a cliff. Okay, the data is just not there to support it. So HZEN, again, falling wedge, targets the top of the wedge, 1050. That's what the target is. So 260 to about 290 is going to be support here. And then, of course, you have the swing high, which just so happens to also be the start of this falling wedge. So this move would be roughly about 332%. ETCG, this one is below the support zone, but again, this thing could just bounce off of these candle lows right here. You can see it kind of just sitting there at these lows. It could just pull one of these and just go bang straight back up like this big fat green candle here. Get us back above that zone, okay? So 860 to $10 is going to be the current buy zone. The target we're looking for is just shy of 20, and then bear case scenario 290 to roughly about $5. Although I give a lot less credence to the bear case scenario because I don't think that's likely. So 150%, and then roughly about 375% respectively. ETCG, again, I'm looking at the white line of support, so about 1880. $11 to roughly about $15.50 down there in the bear case scenario. And if I actually get rid of this so we can see what the top of this candle is, $36 is going to be roughly the top of the candle. But again, the cup and handle target is the reason why that is there in the first place. So in case you guys were wondering if I can even get this to work, give me a second. Okay, so let's try this one more time. All right, so this is kind of how you measure a cup and handle. And again, there's no guarantees that this happens, but we haven't really seen Ethereum break all-time highs, so I would say the likelihood this is going to go to this previous peak is extremely high, in my opinion. So that's about $46. All right, so bull case scenario, we get an immediate bounce. That'd be about 155% and going up to that big target up there. Bear case scenario comes down to support, roughly about 364%. Phil G, kind of just sitting around this previous resistance, turned support, then again turned resistance. So it's kind of just flopping around the zone, not doing much. So again, the zone is roughly about 36 to 40. Bear case scenario, roughly about $6 to 13.5. And then the highs up here at roughly about $400. So bull case scenario here, roughly about 880%. Bear case scenario, 6,900%. GBAT, not much going on here. It's kind of just chopping sideways, doing pretty much nothing. Right before CPI, I kind of would expect as much. And also we have the Fed rate cut coming. So bull case scenario, it holds here at 440 to 510. Bear case scenario, we get a drop down here to 230. And then the highs up here at $32. So bull case scenario, roughly about 523%. Bear case scenario, I'd say roughly about 1,100% is what we're looking at here. So GLIV, same thing, kind of just hitting a support. So 1150 to about 1480. I can't really give you guys a bear case scenario on this one as of right now because it does actually look like it's going to hold that support. So $80 would be the highs up here. So the move would be roughly about 463%. G-Link, this one I can't actually give you a bear case scenario. So bull case scenario, we hold here at 39 to 45. Bear case scenario goes down to around 20 to 22. And then the highs up here, roughly about $220. So bull case scenario, 425% move. Bear case scenario, looking at about 1,060%. GSOL, so we're getting a bounce back into support here. Okay, we did get a close below support, but we are kind of bouncing off the EMA, so we'll kind of have to wait and see how this how the week closes for this one. It's hard to say at this point, so I'll just say bull case scenario, maybe this 280 holds, and then bear case scenario, roughly about 167 to 205, and then the all-time highs up there are roughly about $580. So bull case scenario, we're looking at roughly about, I'd say about 100, 105%, somewhere in there. Bear case scenario, assuming we drop and then get a rip to the upside, which again, I think that's less likely to happen, but we'll just have to wait and see, 205%. GXLM, so it does look like it's coming down to this white line. Again, I've been expecting altcoins to bleed off until we get the alt season. As long as the Bitcoin dominance is going up, like you guys can see right here, it's at 57.3%. As long as that keeps going up, in my opinion, the alts are going to keep bleeding, which again means dip buying opportunities. It's only when we see the Fed cut, the dollar index drop, and Bitcoin dominance fall off a cliff, in my opinion, that we're going to see altcoins start to really moonshot and shine big time in comparison to Bitcoin. So until then, we may just unfortunately kind of be sitting at the lows for altcoins. So white line here, roughly about, I'd say 1440 is going to be support. If that holds, bull case scenario, bear case scenario, roughly about $5 to $11.90. And target I'd be looking for is up here at the swing high. So that's roughly about that $70 mark, 380% move in the bull case. Bear case, let's just say maybe it touches the top of the zone, which seems likely, roughly about 447% move. Mana, this one's again sitting around the white line. Bull case scenario, we pop back above it by the end of the week, get a close above. It's about 1040. Bear case scenario, roughly about 150 to I'd say 350. Although the likelihood of going back to bear market lows before the start of the bull run, even for altcoins, in my opinion, is extremely low. Okay, extremely low. Because usually when these things come off of bear market lows, they don't ever go back to bear market lows unless we have some kind of black swan event before the bull run happens. So 570% gain here. Bear case scenario, roughly about 2,600%. Zcash, this thing's doing nothing. It's basically an accumulation, in my opinion. So we had accumulation here, pop, came back down, retested a lower level, accumulation, and then theoretically it should just smash higher. So 320 is what I'd be looking at support here. I'd be looking for this 10.25 up here as the target. So roughly from about that white line to the target's roughly about 223%. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.